Hi, I'm Susan Beattie, here with Luke in our classroom. This week I had one of my favorite interviews with Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office Deputy Bill Feaman and his canine therapy dogs, Dea and Willow. We visited students at Timber Trace Elementary School with media specialist Shannon Culp. The students learned about the care and training of these very special dogs and their job of giving care, love, and compassion to someone who has suffered a traumatic experience, along with their visits to hospitals, nursing homes, schools, and many other events in our community. Deputy Feaman and his dogs are our heroes, and we thank them for all they do. There are 2 parts from my visit, so make sure to watch both, and please give us a thumbs up to show us that you like them on each video. Also, please subscribe to our channel. It's free, and it helps us spread the word. And become a Luke's Clubhouse member, so your name will be in our monthly drawings to receive free gift giveaways as our thank you for helping us spread the word of our mission of teaching compassion for all animals. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the next 2 videos with Deputy Feaman. First, let me introduce Deputy Feaman, and he is with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Department, and he's going to talk to you about what program this is now, and I'm just going to turn it right over. You'll have a chance to ask questions, and he will introduce his dogs, Dea and Willow, and talk to you about their training, because just like you go to school to learn, these dogs went to school also. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. All right.
So, first, thank you guys for coming out. Right? We always like to enjoy meeting new people and new friends. I'm Deputy Feaman. You can call me Deputy Bill. This is Dea, and this is Willow. So, Dea actually came from Brevard County Sheriff's Office. Dea was arrested. She's a Catahoula Leopard Hound, which these dogs were originally bred in New Orleans, and they were bred for hunting and baying and finding hogs and deer and those things. Well, unfortunately, she didn't want to hunt. So the people that had her were very abusive to her. And the sheriff's office found out about it, and they arrested those bad people, and they took Dea in. What happened with Dea, though, was she kind of lost her trust in humans because they were pretty heavy-handed on her. So when I saw her, she wasn't originally our first dog that we were going to pick. But when I saw her, and I saw the personality in her, she kind of gave me this look. So I asked them if I could start working with her. And of course, we work with her, and they have an inmate program up there where some of the inmates from the jail actually started working with us also to try to encourage her personality to come out and to re-trust humans. So here we are. The way our program works is that both of them live with me. So during the day, they get to ride in a very special car that we have. And then at night, they get to be just a dog. And they get to get on the couch, and they lay down, and they go to bed, and they do everything that your dog would do at home, right? So Dea's probably going to be standing up a lot this morning. Normally our routine is we'll get up and we'll go to the baseball field, and she gets to run a couple of laps and burn off some steam. But this morning she didn't get to do it because of the weather. So Willow was actually donated to us after her breeder saw what we were doing with the program. So when she saw her, she called us and said, hey, listen, we have this dog and here's an opportunity for you. And so Willow was 6 months old when we got her. She just certified recently as a therapy dog after about, usually they go through about 4.5 to 6 months of training. It depends on how quickly they get it. Now our training, which is different, and Ms. Beattie started to talk to you guys earlier about the different dogs and the different types of dogs. The therapy dog training is very extensive as far as exposure to environmental things. If it's thundering and lightning outside, you all would typically go inside. We want to come outside because we want to get them used to that. All right. The fireworks on the 4th of July, we'll stuff cotton in their ears. And we we take them outside and we'll go watch the fireworks. Now, the first couple times, they don't like it very much. We have a gun range in the sheriff's office, so we take them out there, and the way we start out with that is we leave them in the car where they feel safe and secure. We pop the hatch and we let them listen to the gunfire. So they get exposed to those kind of things. We go to Home Depot, we go to the malls. They actually have to take the escalator, which is very hard for a dog. Think about how difficult it is for us with 2 feet, right? We're watching that step and then we step out. These guys got 4 feet to navigate to get on those things. So we make sure they do that. We put them in the elevators. For a dog, it feels very different because once again, their body is displaced by 4 feet, paws, whatever you call them, right? So when the elevator's going up, it feels different to them than it does to us. The first time she got in, she would do this squat thing and get real scared and look around like, what is going on? See, and these are noises that, see, that was something different. It was quiet and all of a sudden weed eater starts something. Now they're trying to figure out what is that noise and where it's coming from, right? But these are things that we expose them to, so they don't, typically, if they were not used to these sounds or anything was different, sometimes the dog will take off running. You know, I found one of my neighbor's dogs recently after thunder and lightning because the dog got scared, took off and ran right out of the leash, and the dog was running through the neighborhood. So we try very hard to expose them to a number of things, including as many people as we can. We also visit very special schools with children with autism. We make sure we do that. We visit convalescent centers so that we can get them used to people that may be bedridden and can't get out. We take the dogs in there and expose them. And it's good for us and it's good for them because they like to have visits from the dogs also, right? But the biggest job that these guys do, and why we started this program is that sometimes bad things happen to good people. And what science tells us is just by petting a dog, it lowers your blood pressure and it releases these endorphins that make you feel better, right? So that's why we take these dogs out to a lot of times we have bad things that happen. A lot of these things I can't talk to you about, but I will tell you recently, we actually stumbled upon a car crash where the grandmother was actually taking her kids to school, her grandkids to school. And while fire rescue was trying to cut grandma out of the car, which she was fine, the kids were really scared and they were crying and upset. So I had Dea working that day and I actually took her out and I took the young people out, these students, behind the fire truck, and they got to spend some quality time with her. So while they were hanging out with Dea and they were petting her and talking to her, they kind of forgot that grandma might be in a bad way over there, right? So we also escorted them to the hospital so we can make sure that Dea is still there if they needed her. But again, the grandmother was okay. It looked a lot worse than what it was. But those are some of the things that we'll take them out for. And then we have, and then we get to visit the schools. We've also started a program called the Read Along Program. So every Tuesday, we go to the library between 4 and 6 down in West Palm, and we bring the dogs. What we've also found, and what science tells us, is that if you have trouble reading and you read to the dog's not going to make fun of you having a hard time with a word, right? They're not saying anything. They're just enjoying the story. So it gives you an opportunity to read to them unconditionally while somebody else is, while they're listening. And they love to listen to stories. And this one loves to just push up on you. And this is part of what she does also. But she does this while they're reading. So that's pretty much how we work and what we do. And whatever questions you get, let me go back to something originally that we started with Ms. Beattie said. It was very important. And again, thank you for asking, can you pet them? So let's talk about the types of dogs. When you normally approach a dog, you always want to ask, can I pet the dog? Open your palm and keep your fingers together. It's kind of tough for a dog to bite you when your hand is tight like this, right? I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's kind of tough. Now, they use this to get to know us. And a lot of times they'll lick you. That's also to get to know you, right? So, yeah, they will. And these two will do it all the time. But when you expose your hand like that, you're kind of telling them too, hey, I'm a friend. A lot of people will approach them and they go to reach over their head, and as soon as she goes up to sniff, people pull their hands back, especially younger kids. Well, they think it's a game because that's kind of so now your hand becomes a game. We go here, they sniff us, we're okay, and we go here, right? Now, they're supposed to have a vest on. I don't normally like for them to wear the vest because I like you guys to have exposure to the whole dog. But I make sure that they have some type of identification on us so that they know that these are working dogs. So then we have our patrol dogs, which are the German Shepherds, or apprehension dogs is what they're called. Those dogs you cannot pet unless, we have a few in our unit or in the canine unit rather, there's a few of those dogs that are pretty cool and they're very social dogs, but when the boss tells them it's time to work, then they know how to go to work. But those dogs, you really want to kind of give them their distance and then ask, particularly if you can touch those dogs. And in most cases, they're going to tell you no, just because those guys are working. You'll see what's called a service dog. Service dogs are trained for a particular activity. It may be that someone's confined to a wheelchair and you drop the keys, that dog will retrieve the keys, a cell phone, different things like that. Whatever the owner needs at that time, and most of them are trained for that. Service dogs are not to be petted. Those dogs develop such a natural bond with their owner and the person that's their caretaker that they really think that anybody approaching them outside of family might be a threat. And these guys don't know that you might be coming over to help. Even if you see that person drop something, you're going to want to ask, can I help you with that, rather than go to reach for it? Because that may be perceived as you hurting the owner, and by these guys, they want to protect us no matter what. Now, these guys aren't allowed to do that. They can't even bark in the car. If you walk by the car, they're not allowed to do that. They can't be possessive over a vehicle. They can't be possessive over toys. Part of their training, we're here every day, I mean, this is, every day, this is part of their training. We grab their feet, we go between their paws. Dogs do not like this. You see what she's doing, but it's so soft it doesn't do anything. And she's pretty much saying, hey, ouch, ouch, let me go. I pull their tails. We're constantly doing things to see. If she's gonna bite somebody, I want her to bite me, not one of you guys, right? And I don't think we ever have a problem with these guys with that, because we're maintaining their temperament. We expose them to a lot of things all the time. And they get great rewards for doing a great job that they do.
I was just going to say that I have a sister who has epilepsy.
Yes, ma'am.
And
yes.
so I know that they're often
Yes.
used with
Absolutely.
Do you guys know what epilepsy is? When a student, have you read the book Roll With It? So that is a student who has cerebral palsy, and oftentimes they're confined to a wheelchair. So we have good books that help students,
Yes.
and we have dogs that help those people. We have so much exposure in the library, but epilepsy is when you have seizures. And so the dog can go to them and be with them, or alert someone and keep them safe when they're having a seizure. So that's pretty cool. And I know that she had one when she was younger.
Yes.
She does it now just because she's kind of grown out of it. So,
And what's important, guys, is that they can actually be trained to detect the seizure.
Oh yeah.
They can, and they will notify, their caretaker by either nudging them with their nose. Sometimes they will they will sit in front of them and just kind of stare at them. Sometimes they'll give them a paw. Whatever they're taught to do when they recognize the seizure's going on, those are things that these guys will do. With Dea, part of her training, we went to an award ceremony for a soccer team, and one of the kids grabbed her by the tail, and I didn't know he had her by the tail. So as he's pulling her backwards, and I looked down and I realized she's going backwards, but not by her own, she kept making eye contact with me. And that's one of the things that says, and that's what we have to look for as a handler. But I was so busy trying to give instruction and tell everybody what to do and what not to do. This guy was doing exactly what I was about to tell him not to do, which was to grab her tail, and he started pulling her backwards. But at no point did she react the way that some dogs might, which is to turn around and bite, because that hurts. That tail, pulling the tail really hurts. It's like pulling our hair. But she was kind of trying to tell me that. And once I realized that she had made eye contact about 3 times, I said, oh, and then I follow her body and I see this guy back there pulling her tail. But that's a part of what we train them to do. They need to let us know. So even when we deploy them and we're working in a case where something bad has happened to somebody, we're always maintaining eye contact with the dogs. We want to know if they need a break, a bathroom break, if they get stressed. Sometimes they stress them.
How many dogs have you worked with?
How many have I worked with? These are the first. Actually, I had another dog in the beginning that we started with. Sheriff Bradshaw, who was our sheriff for Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Bradshaw didn't want us to have 20-year dogs. So the very first dog that I had was a 20-year dog. And the reason being, again, it goes back to the patrol dogs. Our patrol dogs all have 20 years. So some of the younger kids, like you'd be able to tell the difference. You know what a 20-year dog is, a good dog and a bad dog, or a therapy dog and a patrol dog. So the sheriff was concerned that some of the younger kids may be able to play with our therapy dog and be okay, but then see one of our patrol dogs and walk up to it and try to pet and play with the therapy dog. So to eliminate the confusion, we had to come out here. So in answer to your question, this would be my 3rd official dog. I've had pet dogs, but officially it's these 3. There's actually 3 collars, and that's a great question. So again, our sheriff who loves pets and children very much, this is a GPS collar. So if by chance she happens to take off right now for whatever reason and she gets away, then we can track her real time, and it'll show me a map, and it'll actually show like her running and where she's going. And, so the sheriff said, I want all of our dogs to have these on. By the time we finished training, especially the patrol dogs, these guys were free, but by the time we finished with our training and all the expenses with the patrol dogs were a lot of money, And, Miss Barbera has a better idea, but I was looking at her, but, they spent a lot of money into these dogs. So the sheriff wants to know where these dogs go. The second collar that you'll see is called a training collar. Now, this collar, people that don't know, they'll see this collar and they don't like it. They say, oh my God, it hurts the dog. So if you ever see a mom take her puppies, she will grab the puppy by the scruff of the neck and pick the puppy up and carry him back. So if the puppy's doing something wrong, this is how mom corrects the puppy. Well, these collars simulate what mom did. Now, if you're abusive with these collars, they absolutely hurt. But if I took one of these off and put it on your arm right now, it would not hurt you at all. All you feel is a slight pressure. But it reminds them of what mom told them was right and what was wrong. Now, behind that, we have what's called a choker, right? But it's not a choke collar. We call it a choker because that's just what it's called. But we use it because we back tie it to the dog. If this collar fails, this collar will hold. If this collar fails, this collar will hold. So again, we try to do everything we can to make sure that our dogs are safe and that they're kept in a proper place in front of us. Yes, ma'am.
Bill, do you want to explain that these dogs are property of the sheriff's office?
Yes, ma'am.
They belong to Sheriff
Yes, ma'am.
Bradshaw and the sheriff's office until they retire, and then they go home with you.
Yes.
And you start over.
Yes, so even our patrol dogs, which is a great point, and by the way, Mrs. Barbera is our chief media person. So Ms. Barbera does all of our news stuff and everything, and and she's standing back there because if I start saying the wrong thing, she kind of gives me, go to the car. No, I'm just kidding. But so what happens with these dogs is that these dogs all belong to Sheriff Bradshaw in the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. When they retire, and at some point they will retire, Sheriff Bradshaw says, okay, now that becomes your dog. But to tell you how much Sheriff Bradshaw loves dogs, he says, but I will still pay for your vet bill and I'll still buy your food for your dog because I want to make sure your dog is well taken care of. So even though they retire the dogs, so the guys with the patrol dogs, the German Shepherds, the Mals, those dogs, when they retire, they get to live with their family continuously, but they get their vet care taken care of and their food. Yes, ma'am. I'll come right back to you, sir.
How old are they?
So Willow is just about a year old. She's 11 months and change. Dea is 19 months old. Yes, sir.
How did you come up with the name?
So actually, her name was Dia. That's what they were calling her. When I got her home, my daughter could not say Dia. She started saying Dea. So it kind of stuck, and we just call her Dea. Believe it or not, Dea translates to compassion. So it's perfect. Willow, we were walking through the office one day, and we had no name for Willow. We were just calling her Puppy Girl and Puppy and come here, Puppy. And one of the ladies in the office looked at her and said, she looks like a willow. And I was like, yeah, she looks like a willow. So, I don't know what a willow looks like, but it sounded right. So, here she is, Willow.
So please stay tuned because you can see part 2. This was such a great interview and the kids had wonderful questions that I don't want to cut anything out of it. So we'll have a part 1 and a part 2. So make sure that you watch both. Thank you again.